Hello everyone, in this video we are going to talk about the painting The Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci. But first, who is Leonardo da Vinci? Leonardo da Vinci was a Florentine polymath of the Italian Renaissance. He was simultaneously a painter, anatomist, architect, paleontologist, artist, botanist, scientist, writer, sculptor, philosopher, engineer, inventor, musician, poet, and urban planner. He died accompanied by Francesco Melzi, from whom he inherited his projects, designs, and paintings. After spending his childhood in his hometown, Leonardo studied with the Florentine painter Andrea de Verrocchio. His, his first major works were created in Milan in the service of Duke Ludovico Sforza. He then worked in Rome, Bologna, and Venice, and spent his last year in France at the invitation of King Francis I. Now, what is the Renaissance? Renaissance is the name given in the 19th century to a broad cultural movement that occurred in Western Europe during the 15th and 16th centuries. It was a period of transition between the Middle Age and the beginning of the Modern Age. Its main exponents are in the field of the arts. Also, there was also a renewal in the science, both natural and human. The city of Florence in Italy was the birthplace and development of this movement, which later spread throughout Europe. The Last Supper is one of the most famous works of Leonardo da Vinci and the most famous representation of the episode of the Last Supper. Da Vinci's Cynical represents the dramatic moment of Jesus with the apostles, as described in the Gospel of John 13:21, when Christ announces the betrayal of one of them. Around him, the 12 apostles, visibly moved by the words of the prophet. In the representation of the emotions on the faces of the 30 characters in the painting is the magnificence of Leonardo's work. In making visible the movement of the soul, an essential characteristic of an artist, as Leonardo himself writes in his Trattato della Pittura, or Treatise of Painting. The Last Supper is painting in oil on plaster, with a dry wood painting technique never used before in wall paintings. This is probably the detail that makes Leonardo's work unique in the world, experimenting with new techniques that, unfortunately, are sometimes poorly adapted to maintenance over time. In fact, the Last Supper has also had significant conservation problems and has been restored several times, seeing a gradual fading of the typical characteristics of Leonardo's painting. Regarding the color, the dominant color will be the reddish ones that appear in the clothes of the same and a little in the architecture of the scene. And the subordinate colors will be black and white used only for lighting and shading the piece. In the painting, we can see that something is wrong. This is surely because Jesus had already announced that one of his disciples was going to betray him.